Alright, now I do want this to look like an old rustic shack, so I'm now going to distort things a little bit. I don't want everything to be so clean and straight. I'm going to rough it up a little bit. So here, this is going to be like a corrugated iron little roof on that. But instead of making it straight, I'm going to bend it a little bit. Just going to do a wiggly line across the front here. A little bit bent. I can give the illusion of corrugated iron by these straight flicks of my pencil. Right, let's rub out any other construction lines that aren't necessary now. So now it comes down to detailing. So here's where we can be creative. We'll add a bit of a window sill here. Again, that has to be vanishing back. But because it is an old rustic shed as well, probably doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. In fact, it's probably better if it's not. So I'm going to try and rough some of this up a bit. Let's add some wooden shingles. And remember, these need to be gradually getting further and further apart as we go along. I'm doing these totally freehand because I don't want them to be too straight. I'm trying to create that illusion of a little bit of roughness and oldness, how things have been warped and distorted over time. In fact, some of these are going to have like gaps between them. We might even have some of them totally missing. You have some of them actually pulling out of the wall and twisting. Whatever details you want to do here is totally up to you. Keep all your line work light to start with. You can gradually darken it up. Now, I'm going to do some horizontal ones on here, but remember they also have to be vanishing back. So along the horizon line, they're going to be fairly flat. I'm going to change the angle of some of them just to give it that roughness and oldness. But these have to be vanishing back in that direction to that one. Just keeping it all light and fairly rough to start with. You can go in and detail it all later and make sure it's all really crisp. But just to get things rolling, just shading in occasional bits and pieces like this, just to give me a sense of what's happening. These also have to be vanishing back, so gradually changing direction, getting straighter and straighter as we come up towards that horizon. I can start putting in some shading too, working out which direction my light's going to be coming from. I'm thinking that this side over here might be in more shadow than this front of it, just because this is mostly where all the detail is, so I want to light that up a little bit more. So I can start putting in some of this shadow, so anything that's facing in this direction is going to be partly shadowed. Starting with light shading, I can always go darker later. Just darken off this bit just so that it stands out. So I'm going to darken underneath there, give that a bit of a deeper shadow. keeping pencil sharp is really important. Now I'm using a 2B, so it's a little bit soft and it's getting blunt very quickly. I'm going to add a door to half of this. I'll have one of my barn doors open or fallen off, and the other one still there, intact, but probably just a bit old. Some big old rustic hinges on them. Shade this in the direction of the wood grain. That helps to give that illusion of wood grain at the same time. In fact, let's add a little window up here as well. It has to be vanishing back, remember, back to that vanishing point. One side falling off. The detail is created really just by varying the pressure of the pencil. And that's one of the reasons why we don't want to go too heavy to start with. We want to still give ourselves enough room there to get darker if we need to. Okay, now this window is sticking out here, so we want a bit of shadowing underneath it just to make it pop out. Just darkening up the wood grain just from the top, just little flicks going down. It's almost like rust or decay dripping down the timber. I want each one to be different length, different pressure, and not evenly spaced either. Just as much variation as you can help create that feeling of entropy. See, I'm still allowing myself enough room there to get darker if I need to. And later on, if I find that I need to get even darker still, I can go back with a darker pencil, like a 4B or a 6B. I'm still working with my 2B here at the moment. All right, now let's look at this doorway. Give it an overall shading. If I want to make that top part pop out, I can just shade just above it a little bit. So I'll put a bit of extra, these timber grain details up above. And that helps to bring out that top bit of timber there above our door frame. So subtle little details that can make a big difference. Right, now with my door, I want some of these panels stretched and broken and twisted as well. So where we're seeing a gap, we're going to be seeing inside the shed here. Put the occasional knot in the timber as well, just to give it a bit of extra texture and realism. Some of these gaps appear quite by accident, but they work to create that old entropic feel. Just want to create a bit more separation there between the door and the frame. So I'm going to darken off just a little bit behind there just to bring that back out. Sharpen up this edge a little bit. Right, now here we're going to be seeing inside the shed, so I want it very dark, but I also want some light shining through. So here we've got gaps between our timber work over here. I'm imagining that the back of the shed will also kind of be the same. So I'm going to put in some very dark wooden slats inside. I won't go all the way down because the back of our shed is still back here somewhere. Just want to leave some gaps. Still giving myself enough room to get darker if I need to. I don't want these gaps to be perfect. Right, now I can do a bit of detail at the back here as if it was cross beams holding these up like I've done here. Now, be cautious here because if we just did them on an angle this way, it's going to be the wrong perspective. This is the back face of our shed, so these ones need to be vanishing back to this point over here. So as long as we can make them vanish that way, then we're going to be fairly safe. And maybe we can add a table or something in here, I don't know, just some bit of extra detail, doesn't really matter what it is. Just something there just to help break it up a little bit more. Darken it off if you need to. And also give it some shadowing on the ground. All right, let's add some tin to the roof up the top here. So we want a bit of ridge capping, so we just want a thin line going across here for the ridge capping. I'm keeping it really light to start with. Actually, I'll sharpen my pencil here. Maybe we can even get some of this ridge capping actually raising up warping a little bit as well. Just going to put a spare piece of paper over the top of that to stop it from smudging. Okay, now I want a few bits of tin that have been lifted up and twisted as well. Now, the angle that we do these is quite important. So keep in mind that's the angle of our edge up here. Most of these need to be fairly parallel to that. But as we come across here, the angle will change. Actually goes this way. Now, I don't need to draw a line for every single ridge. It's just creating that impression of them. We can darken up underneath here. Okay, we need a bit of shading underneath here where that's extruded out. So it's going to cast a bit of a shadow onto the wall. Same down here. Notice how that shading really brings it out. Makes that separation between the roof sheeting and the wall itself. Okay, let's do a bit of a smashed window here. So I want a bit of reflection on the glass. So the glass itself I'm going to make slightly lighter, as if it's reflecting. Even add maybe a hint of reflection of trees or something in here. Just keeping it fairly loose and broad. But then inside here, we want it to be dark. It's inside the shed. And maybe this panel can be missing, the glass can be missing altogether in here, so we'll make this one darker. And the rustic timber grain effect again, dripping down from the top. Especially up here where it's in shadow, we're going to see more of it. Now this time, because this side's in light, I want to keep it lighter, but I want to give that impression of detail. So it's just really light, occasional lines of texture. Whereas over here, we were filling in a lot more. We were adding a lot more of that timber grain to it. Even darken some of this off a little bit more, I think. Especially near that front edge, just to create that difference there between the light and the dark. Getting more shadow under here. Just to pop out that window pane, windowsill. And down here, I'm just loosely creating that illusion of detail. I'm sort of almost doing random lines, really. Darken off up the top here just to get that separation. Small hint of a cast shadow going out onto the building from it. Now for the door. So maybe we can make it off its hinges. So we'll have some of it coming out the front here. Old-fashioned hinges there. And inside, of course, needs to be very dark. And just because it's fallen off and it's sort of on an angle now, we can darken that one off just a little bit more than that front face as well, just to give it a little bit more interest. Especially in there, just to separate it from that door frame. Maybe we can add a hint of a water tank down here as well. Now, still using the laws of perspective. So down here near our horizon line, it needs to be flat. But as we get up higher, we start to see a little bit of that arching of the ellipse. Just keeping it fairly loose. Also do a bit of a shadow effect on this as well. Especially where it's going in there behind the building. I want to make that really dark. My pencil on the edge there, you see. And as I'm going up, following the contour of the tank, just to give it that roundness. Bit of reflected light there on the sides, I'll keep that. Now I can darken in some of these cross contours again, the ridges. Each one getting slightly more curved as I go up. A bit of a tap on there. Now I can add some grass, a bit of nature into this as well. So I want some long, weedy sort of grass coming up here. Remember with the grass, a bit of variation, so have some of them travelling in different directions, different lengths. Some of them we can put just some little seed, the impression of little seeds just by a little squiggle on the end. And there we go. Just the hint of some detail down here. I'm really just sort of going to squiggle it a little bit just to give impression that there's something there, but I don't want to detail it at all. And there's our old shack. Well, I hope that you really enjoyed that video. Now, this video is a section of an online course that I teach about understanding perspective. And for many aspiring artists, perspective can be one of the hardest aspects of drawing to learn well. And it's also one of the most important fundamentals to learn if we want to be able to create drawings that have any sense of realism. Now, with any drawing, whether we're drawing farm shacks like this one, or animals, people, landscapes, or even still life drawings, we need a really good understanding of perspective to be able to draw convincingly. Usually, however, perspective is taught in such an overly complex manner that it's just confusing. And that's why I created this course. I break it down into easy to learn steps for aspiring artists and illustrators. Now, if you want to learn more about perspective, click on the link in the description below for more information about how to sign up. Now that's Art Lessons Online, where I take you from stick figure to expert in easy to follow lessons. I also have a free course on there to help you out if you're just getting started with drawing. Okay, now if you liked that video today, please hit the like button below, subscribe to my channel, and please share it amongst your friends. Thanks for watching and happy drawing.